Yo, it's Cloverdale, and today we're building a very fun 140 drum groove. And we're going to keep it simple, sort of hard groovy type drum groove. Built very similarly to a tech house drum groove, but just at 140 BPM. So let's go. We got a clap and a hat and a kick, rocking the regular beat that we always do. So let's figure out how we can build this out and make this a little more interesting. So let's start with a 16th note hat that can kind of ride through this, and this is going to be sort of what starts to bring some of the energy into it. So let's try and find maybe a closed hat. I'm shamelessly going to use my new drum kit because there's a bunch of hats in there that I like, and we can have that rolling along, maybe add a little bit of attack so it kind of tames off some of that transient. You know, maybe you can drop the sustain down. Okay, so that's sounding great, but it's kind of just humming along. So let's maybe give it a little bit of variation. In Ableton 12, what you can do is you can actually highlight all of these and just move this deviation down. And that's going to kind of pick random values in between there. If you're not in 12, there's some randomized features that you can use as well. Little harder to use, but you could just hit 0, then hit randomize, and then what you can do is I think you could sort of move some of them up, move some of them down, and like get sort of like a half random thing that has some less deviations to them. Then maybe we want to add a compressor. If you see my other video, you know what I'm about to do. You can open this up, sidechain it to your main hi-hat. And so this will kind of create a different little groove between this 16th note and our open hi-hat. So that's what, 8 here. And so then 2 of these kind of groove along together. Amazing. We're boogieing. Let's go. Okay, so from there, maybe let's pick more of like an open hat that we can, like maybe it comes in later on in the track. But right now I'm going to try and build the entire full drum groove. And from there, we can kind of remove things as, you know, work on the arrangement. But right now we're going to try and get the full drum groove. Maybe this first one, sure. Maybe it also, I fade off transient a little bit because we already have this transient. It's kind of covering that. So if we could just stack a bunch of transients on top of each other, sometimes it could be a little harsh. So let's do that. Copy that along. Okay. How's this sounding? Those are a bit loud, but we'll turn them down. Maybe we'll add another one that's a little bit more of an accent. Sure. Turn that way down. Fade it. Nice. Maybe just a little longer. Cool. Maybe we do the same with the clap. And now what I'm looking for, I'm just looking to put little accents in between the 8th note and where the kick drum is. Little accents. These things add so much, and so not where the claps and the kicks hit, not where the 8th note hi-hat hits, but in the gaps. So here and here. I can zoom out a little bit, make more sense. Like here and here and here. They all sound great. So let's just try right here before this turn around into the next bar. Sweet. Feeling fun. Maybe let's add another 16th note. Sort of maybe more like a shakery thing. We'll try and introduce some stereo information to it. Maybe I'll just duplicate this. And I will find maybe one of these open hats that kind of has some like shakery energy to it. And what we're going to do is just sort of use some of the noise from it. So get rid of the transient, add a bunch of attack. Ooh, we might even be able to use this section at the end. Oh yeah, there we go. More attack. Let's see if we pitch this up, what that sounds like. Sometimes they don't always sound the best. And I think it's because, is it trying to warp it? No, it's not. But that's all right, though. If we take that, then EQ that. Make it real high-endy. Wow, now it's really starting to sound like a shaker, which is what we're going for. We can get rid of the very top end, kind of soften it out a little bit. Here we go. Let's then maybe throw like a delay on there. And if we ping pong it, mess with the timing a little bit so we don't have some crazy phase issues. We can even add some modulation here on the time if we want. Bring this down a little bit. And now we got a little stereo sort of shakery thing. And those kind of live together now. We kind of turn that up if we want. And then let's down on the send, maybe we'll use a hybrid reverb, and we'll set this up sort of like a room tone. Hybrid reverb uses impulses, and so they are more like measurements that the reverb is basing things off, so they can sometimes sound a little bit more realistic than the regular reverb that is synthetic, and so it's always synthesizing the reverb as it goes. So let's maybe try some of these made for drums ones I've always thought are pretty good, the BLDG Studio, and then some of these other live studio ones as well. You know, honestly, the Ableton Studios up here in the first early Reflections folder, it has some nice ones as well. But cycle through them all, find whichever one works best for you. So let's send a bunch of this group right to it. And we can kind of cycle through a bunch of these if we want. They're all going to sound a little different. And sometimes it might even be easier for you to tell what they sound like if you just give it one sample, like a clap or something, and really drown it. Cycle through. And maybe we want to bring the decay time down a little bit, make it real tight. All right. I'm going to, let's just do the made for drums one here. It's sounding pretty good. We can even EQ it differently too if we want. Maybe tame it a bit. Cool. Sounded good to me. And we'll bring that back down. So now that's kind of putting all those things in their own space. Maybe certain elements we wanted to give a little more. Maybe this little accent clap gets more. Cool. Putting all those drums in the same space. Okay, so next up, maybe I have this all in the group, but I have the kick outside of it. But that's because I'm going to I want to process all these drums together. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to add a saturator. A saturator is going to be doing two things for us. One, it can add a little bit of color and some distortion, which sounds nice. But the best thing about the saturator is it's going to kind of help us tame some peaks. So let's just talk about this for a second. This is our group here. And what I want you to look here is this peaking volume here. This number right here is going to tell us what this channel is peaking at in terms of decibels. So when I hit play, we're seeing that it's hitting -1, so it's quite loud. It's almost hitting 0. But some of those are just like really, really instantaneous, tiny little peaks from some of the transients of the drums. So if I turn on a saturator, what it's going to do is those little peak things are going to get sort of trimmed and clipped by the saturator. And so I can start driving this a little bit. And as I drive this into the saturator by turning the decibels up, I'm going to turn the output down. So we'll take a listen now. And if I A/B this, the volume is theoretically going to be the same as if we listen. Like, it doesn't sound like it's really getting louder. However, if we look here, you know, before we were at -1, -1.5. Now when I turn the saturator on, take a look. Wow, we're at -4. So we've gained 2 dB of headroom. And why that's important is because now it's going to be quieter. After this, this goes to the master channel. And on the master channel, we then have a bunch of limiters on the master channel. But now those peaks aren't going to interfere and make that limiter start to distort and get ugly. It's going to take, you have 2 more dB of headroom before that's going to happen. So all of this is great. And so if you can kind of gain headroom on different channels throughout, that's all great. Some saturators, maybe you want to add something like Decapitator that adds a bunch of color and distortion and tape sort of sound, some vintage style stuff. Maybe Saturn's another one that, people are reaching for. But all of them kind of work the same, which is great. So this is sounding great. Maybe dial back the reverb a little bit. Okay, maybe just for fun, we'll throw in a little bit of a perk loop or something in there. I got a few in this pack here that are pretty fun. Let's see what we got here. Perk loops. That was kind of fun. This like little shakery bit. Throw that in. We'll warp it. And then a groove like this, we don't have any swing on it right now, but maybe what we might want to do is just add a very little bit amount of swing. So what I've been doing is let's add a lot. So 16th, 68 is actually a ton of swing. But what you can do is you can then dial in this swing here. So if I had it fully done, listen to the 16th notes here. That sounds kind of crazy. But if we dial that timing back and just have just a little bit. I want to turn. Now just a little bit of swing, and they're coming out. Let's turn. I stuck this in and didn't turn it down. So let's turn this down a little bit. Cool. That's all feeling great. And then, from there you can kind of build things out. Maybe you want to add one of my favorite things to add, and I don't have them in my pack because I think I would need to get a hi-hat cymbal. But they have these open close type samples, and I think these are actually just like a recorded hi-hat, and then they closed it. So we do that. Put these sort of like at the end of every bar, and we can warp them and actually, if we keep in beats mode, choose where the close bit comes. So listen here, it'll close. Now it closes right on the beat because we've warped it. All right, that's great. Copy those across. Maybe you wanted to, before you add like your big techno washy ride, maybe you want to add like a soft. Ableton has this sample that's in with all their kits. That's like a really soft stick ride. You can kind of just layer this on top of the kick. It sounds nice. But any sort of very soft ride cymbal. Nice. Maybe our main open hat is a bit much, so we can warp it, put it in this beats mode trick where it just plays the transient one, so we can tighten it up a little bit. All that's sounding great. And then like if you worked this with like say a just a 16th note bassline, I have one here that's just like it's simply just a 16th note. Let's see what this. Turn this on. And that's just the Serum Init preset, but here we'll just cycle through. Find some patches here. Let's just pick a plucky one. Plucky. That's fun. Nice. Maybe tighten it up a bit. Tighten that up a bit. Sick. That's feeling great. Maybe dial back some of the reverb a little bit. Bring down the ride. Let's say the ride comes in halfway anyways. Or maybe it was like more of like an offbeat groove as well. So like rather than a 16th note, it's now more eighths. Let's make this up. Still, tons of energy. And it's just such a basic groove. It's all working. Okay. This bass line here, I think it's just like a 16th note groove as well. And it's just 16th notes with the one little 8th note there. And then maybe we can rock something like a 808 type bass or something like that. Kind of aggressive. You know, it could be cool if it was like this, but then we I wonder what if you just modulated that. Sometimes there's no plans to these videos, folks. All right, let's modulate this by LFO2, sorry, and then we can maybe set this to like off. Neat. What if we then did some sort of like dotted? The dotted grooves are always cool. You always get some cool results with the dotted grooves. All right. That's neat. Okay, I'm getting distracted now, but you guys get the deal. We are just having fun building 16th note drum grooves. We're filling it out. We're getting the drums to feel full of life, and then we're moving on to something else. If you guys are interested in grabbing the sample packs, either the ones that we were just showing off for the basses or any of these stuff, you can head on over to cloverdalestudio.com and use the code YouTube to save $5. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little tutorial about filling a 140 drum groove. My name's Cloverdale. See you guys next time. Bye.